Hello and welcome to An Architectural Photographer Answers Questions that people have sent in, which are kind of interesting, some of them. We've got about 19 questions that we're going to break up over a couple videos, but we'll just start from the beginning. First question is from Hugo Jackson 18, and Hugo asks, how did you get your product shots on your website to look so perfect? They look like CGI. I don't know that that is necessarily a good thing to look like CGI, but I think I know what you mean. A lot of the consistency that we get with a lot of the product shots comes with very careful attention to color temperature, as in not letting any difference in color temperature come into our image. So if we're shooting natural light, we do everything we can to only use lights that are perfectly balanced and not allowing any color casts from like a really warm floor or a brick wall or anything else. But that's what we're generally striving to do, is to balance all of those colors out and eliminate anything that could detract from that. And that'll usually give a nice even representation of whatever the product is, and also fill light a little bit to bring up the shadows so you don't have to crank the shadows and have the shadows fall apart in post. If you crank shadows too much in post that haven't actually been balanced with some nice fill light, you can crank them up and they'll get noisy and have a little bit of weird color in them. Mugen.Burns asks, hey there, how do you achieve such a clean, natural look with your lighting? Again, it's kind of the same answer in that we try to have very consistent color temperature. If we're using natural light, we'll usually stretch some kind of transparency between the light source and where we're shooting to really spread the light out to get very, very soft indirect light most of the time. And as long as that's color balance, it usually gives a really nice, pleasing, clean, and soft in a pleasant way. And when we do add strobe, we add it very carefully and minimally, and we'll balance that out in post between the natural light and the strobe. Next we have the Kev Leong, or the Kev Leo, I don't know. What camera and lens do you use to shoot interiors? We use a Canon 5D Mark, whatever they're up to now, 4. And then we use an assortment of lenses from L series, except for the tilt shifts that don't come in L series. But we have basically the 24-70L and the 70-200. But then primarily we use the 17 TSI, the 24, and the 45 primarily. We'll do like a top and bottom or side to side composition and put those together to get more of a medium format look. And I find that you can get a better composition instead of going straight to a 17 to kind of double up to 24, which is nice sometimes. Ridgelight Studio asks, tips for nailing the frame around windows. I just use a nail gun. I bracket but still get some light spill. So frames around windows are always kind of, to me, that marker of if someone gets as they're doing post. A lot of times with images from around this area, a client will want the ocean brought in, just perfect exposure, and who's ever doing the retouching will bring in the ocean and it'll be this dark blue, but then the frame around the window will just be blown out white with no detail in it, and it's a really obvious giveaway. What we generally try and do is, for one, if I can shoot when there's no direct light hitting the window frames, that'll allow them to not have that really harsh high contrast feel. If you do have that, then what I'll do is use some fill light, bounce it from inside, and then really gently balance that and post the combination of the two to balance that out between outside and inside. Okay, Aditya_Dua_ asks, as students, what should our prime focus be? Design skills or construction details? I imagine Aditya is an architectural student. I would say primarily at this point in your architectural career as a student, I would say design skills, because that's going to be far more of a foundation that will play into everything as you go along. So any detail is going to be informed first by your design skills. But then you also have to have all your structural and construction elements, knowing how they go together and best fit together, but to keep maybe first and foremost that aesthetic idea in your head is my opinion on it. But I have not practiced architecture in a long, long time. So that's just my 2 cents. Next, we have 2 questions from Dhani, DHANI_B, Dhani B. So straight out of camera, I'm assuming is SOC, with supplemental lighting, question mark. We'll generally do like a bracket, all raw, and then we'll do a bracket with supplemental lighting and blend the two. Short answer for that one. Which technique do you most often use? Okay, I think that's answering the other question. Exposure blending, exposure blend with flash pops. Both, actually. A lot of times I'll come back with a just completely outside natural light layer, outside natural light mixed with like even the incandescent lights on inside, and then a layer with just the incandescent lights but the shades down, and then a layer with natural light and strobe, maybe bouncing off the ceiling or something. So I'll come back with a lot of different layers, and then the process between my studio manager, Tim, and I is a process of blending those all together, which my studio manager does all the retouching, and I just kind of look over his shoulder and complain and direct now and then. He does an amazing job, and I just critique, and it's great. Mario.Fush asks, what kind of flashlights do you use? I usually use the light on my phone as a flashlight, but if you're asking about strobes, I use white lightning strobes, and I've had those since I have some set up here. I've used those since I started 15 some years ago, and they've never let me down once. And for what I'm doing for still life, for architecture, they have served me extremely well. They're not pretty to look at, and they're kind of heavy, but they're extremely durable, and they've gone through a lot of airplanes and haven't died. So that's nice. Noah Sherburne, what is some advice you have for aspiring architecture students? First of all, the architecture education is a really well-rounded and good education in my opinion, and if I had to do it over, I'd still go through architecture school to become an architectural photographer. What you need to learn to be a photographer, in my opinion, you can learn mostly online and through trying and failing, as I did. I never went to photo school or anything else like that. It was all trial and error, a lot of failing and learning through that way, but it was all very much informed through my architectural education. If people ever ask me, I want to become a photographer, what should I study? I always tell them study the subject that you want to photograph rather than photography. And I know there'll be a lot of people out there that'll be pissed about that, but that's been my experience and it's worked well for me. So take of that what you will. Giannis_Kendalakis. Hi there, I love architecture photography and want to get more clients. Any tips about it? A lot of what you have to do is just stay in business long enough and produce good work, and the work will come to you. Or make appointments with architects with your portfolio. Go out there, meet with them, find work with local, regional architectural publications. They'll see your work in there, and then if they like it, they'll call you. I've focused primarily on doing the absolute best work I could because I'm not great socially in like group settings or networking or rubbing shoulders or starting up just general kind of meet and greet conversation type stuff. So I knew that starting out and went straight for like, all right, I better do the best work I can because my personality needs to, I have to make up for my lack of personality. Next, we have Becky Thu, who says, can I have your van? Yes, you can have my van for $11,500. It's for sale, and you can drive it home today. She's referencing maybe this van right here. If you have any questions, comments, or whatever, leave them below or email us or direct message us, whatever the kids do these days.